Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt Leschko with 1836 Property Management, as always in beautiful downtown Austin, Texas. This is an extra video we're shooting because of something that I personally recently experienced. I wanted to share with you guys the do's and don'ts of managing your own property and hiring a property manager and some of the things that you're going to run across that you wish you hadn't. So the backstory is that my wife and I got married later in life. So she already had real estate that she owned. I have real estate that I own. My family has other real estate, so on and so forth. We believe in investing in real estate, thus the property management company. So she has some properties that we manage at 1836. She has some that she still manages on her own. And this is the story about a recent move out for one of her tenants at a property she managed. Now, my wife is very smart, very strong willed, very successful. And so I'm not about to tell her how to do things. However, I am here to consult should there be any questions. And some things, as a landlord who self manages, you're going to just do differently than a property management company. We are held to a higher standard all around. That's the way it is. So if she manages her property, she's got some choices. There's also some negatives that come with that. So I'm going to share with you guys some things that happened at a recent move out that you can pay attention to so that you can either hire a professional or not do these things or do them differently. So number one is going to be walkthroughs. Guys, if you live in California, you own a property in Austin, that's great. If you think you can manage that thing remotely, all you're doing is creating a bill for yourself down the road and a real headache. I can tell you if you don't walk the properties, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but after 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to be blown away at what you find. I cannot tell you how bad the condition of this property was. It was in the top 3 of all time that I have ever seen, and that says a lot. You have to walk the properties. Tenants don't ever want you to walk. Owners want you to live there. And so what we've come to as an industry is the balance of about every 6 months. Now, you're going to have to walk one of those before you renew the lease, right? Because if it's too close to the end or you've already renewed it, well, it's too late. So you need to stagger them, but you need to stagger them according to the lease dates and things of that nature. Another we want to talk about is processes and handling tenants. You don't know what you don't know until it's too late. One of the things that you have to do is get a forwarding address. So let's say your tenant trashes your place or just leaves something of value behind. If you can't get a forwarding address for them, how are you going to serve them with a notice or return their property? Could be to their benefit, could be to their detriment. Either way, you have to get a forwarding address for that tenant. Don't forget to do that, and be very cautious how you do it because some won't want to give it to you. Another is move outs. How do you handle the move out? You're an owner and you want that property turned overnight, right? All right, first off, that's a horrible idea. You cannot turn a property overnight, no matter which property manager tells you you can do that. It's legally impossible. You don't have the right to be in that property until the lease is over. And the next tenant, well, you need days before they can move in to verify it's up to property code. So let's say your tenant says they're going to move out on the 15th, but the lease doesn't end until the last day of the month. What do you do about it? Start make ready on the 16th? I wouldn't recommend it. I have seen in my own experience vendors get backed up, get cursed by tenants, having to deal with tenants' personal property because, oh, the moving truck was delayed. Oh, something else came up. And the tenants have paid rent and have a right to be in that property until they're into their lease. So do not, under any circumstances, go into that property, schedule vendors, do assessments or anything else until the lease is over. Let's say you go in and start making changes. The lease isn't over. You go in front of the judge and say, they owe me all this money. Do they? You changed it. You didn't even give them the time to correct those things. So you've got a layer of problems you just can't create. Now, if you were to amend the lease date, refund the rent money, something like that, great. But barring that, you cannot go into that property unless something else has been adjusted. Make ready vendors. Oh, this is one of my favorites. So we just got some feedback, which we'll be publishing in a blog post soon, that the average invoice nationally for vendor expenses, it doesn't matter what it is, just the average invoice from a company that aggregates these across the nation went from about $255 to about $415 over just the last 5 to 6 years. Guys, if you're an owner, you're sitting back going, how in the world does this cost so much money, right? But the truth is, across the nation, that's the result of inflation, and that's where we are. So you may have sticker shock, but it doesn't really matter. That's what's going on. So what do? Well, I want a cheaper vendor. I want to get things done. Who says they can do it? Well, the guy that's going to return your call is going to be the guy who has no work, who has no reputation, and who will be gone and do that workshop. So you call them, you send them into the property, and you say, do all this stuff. Oh, by the way, do some extra stuff. I can tell you what's going to happen. 30 days later, you're both arguing with each other over what's done, how it's done, what the quality of work is, and who owes who and what. And by the way, they want their check Friday at 5:05 p.m. because they've got to pay their guys, and there is no backup money for that company. So you're going to be trying to figure out, do you pay PayPal? I don't know. I don't have PayPal. Do you have Venmo? Oh, Venmo won't let me do it. Do you have Zelle? I don't use Bank of America. It's going to be a nightmare. I've seen this play out. So don't do it. You've got to hire reputable vendors, which is what property management companies have. Guys, we operate on net 30 billing. Those vendors have to have enough established capital to be able to operate for those 30 days, pay out their employees, things of that nature, while they wait for our check, because we don't write checks at 5:05 p.m. on a Friday. It is not professional. So while you may have people in the industry or everybody uses Craigslist anymore, but on the internet that say, I'll do anything for you and I need to be guys, you need to deal with professionals. This is a business. This is not a hobby where you hang out with your friends and make up stories and decide how you're going to do things. There are laws and ordinances in place and contracts, and you have to know what to expect before you get into that. Last but not least, pricing and location. If you buy a house in a neighborhood that is difficult, let's just say that. This is really not about race, religion, creed. Say this is not about any class, right? What this is about is some neighborhoods are very consistent and some neighborhoods are difficult. I personally have a property in a neighborhood right now that is difficult. And we have had on one of my own properties that my team manages 2 evictions in a row. And I use the exact same criteria that all of you guys use if your property is managed by 1836, the exact same criteria. Therefore, I'm selling that property. I'm going to turn it into probably 2 properties somewhere else. Well, the property you mentioned that I watched this turnover on in the last few months, the neighborhood as you drive through it is in decline. There's railroad tracks behind the house. Every home is a rental. It looks like a mess. And so I'm motivating my spouse to try to sell that property instead of just rent it, because I think she can turn that investment into 2 other properties or even 1 that is more productive. However, you guys know what it's like doing business with your spouse. And mine is smart. She's successful and she's got a mind of her own. So she'll be fine. But doesn't mean she always follows my advice, even if I'm doing the same thing. So love your spouse, love your rental properties, love your tenants. Always, always do the right thing, but hire a property manager. We can help you guys. We can collaborate with your agents, and we can help you avoid some of those difficult areas of town. Again, it's not about even socioeconomics. It's just about some places people love the schools and they want to stay put. And some places people seem to turn over and can't get their footing under. And so we need to get you stability because we have to use strategy to deliver results. We can't just willy-nilly go, well, that looks good on paper. And then all of a sudden, you're like me, 2 evictions in a row, and that property is going to be sold. So adjust when you see problems, make changes, talk to a property manager, get your agent to collaborate with us as a property manager. And if we can do anything to help you be more successful, please reach out to us online at 1836propertymanagement.com. We'll be here for you in beautiful downtown Austin, Texas, 512-994-4323. See you soon.